As I said in the last video, the reason I'm such a fan of this integration is that it's actionable analytics. So often what we do requires a heavy theoretical leap, but this couldn't get any clearer. You determine your ideal behaviors, you use analytics to identify and segment those visitors, and then you directly target those folks with relevant marketing. And you never even have to log out. So hopefully all the pieces are now in place. We've looked at how you create the segments in the interface, and most importantly, you have your plan in place of who you're targeting and what creative copy you'll deploy. There are a few requirements you'll need to have over and above the plain vanilla Google Analytics in order to do this targeting. One of those is going to be converting your code over to the double-click version of the Google Analytics code, which is known as dc.js. Now, remember when we had to update that one line of code to enable the demographic data? The same thing applies here as well. It's the same exact code change. So the good news is that if you already did it, you're all set. Otherwise, see this page here in order to show how to load the dc.js version of the analytics code. Now don't worry, it's an extremely simple change. This will show you it's basically one line of code. Now if you're wondering, yes, this does mean that as of this recording, for those who've made the jump to the beta version of the next generation of Google Analytics called Universal Analytics, you can't utilize this feature. The reason why is that the remarketing piece actually utilizes the double-click cookie to show the ads. When you tell Google Analytics to take the visitors in this segment and target them, what you're really saying is, hey, these people, make a list of their double-click cookie IDs and then target those IDs whenever they pop up on your ad network. So to do that, you need to fire the double-click version of the Google Analytics code, which isn't yet incorporated into Universal Analytics. But I would advise you to check that status often because they are working very hard to get that fixed. And I would suspect that very close to the time this gets published, they will be making a liar out of me. Now, you must also update the privacy policy on your website to indicate that you are collecting data that will be used for this retargeting. It's Google's requirement, but it's also just a good policy in general. More info here at the link. And the last thing I want to point out is that you need to keep an eye on segment sizes. For privacy reasons, Google won't let you target groups that are smaller than 100 people, which is actually enforced on the AdWords side and applies to any type of remarketing. So make sure the segments you're targeting have at least 100 people or the ads won't fire. So let's dive in. First thing you want to do is head on over to the admin section here of Analytics and look down here for remarketing. Click in here and we're going to see the lists that you've already got set up. If you have any there, we're going to go ahead and create a new remarketing list. Now at the top here, in case you forgot, we've got those same links I had before, some of the requirements in terms of privacy policies, the code that you need, modifying your tracking code, terms of service, etc. You're going to want to select the view or the used to be known as a profile here that you are going to want to collect the data from. And there are a few of these different remarketing types up here. There are some predefined ones that you'll see. Frankly, I'm hoping that my audience is far more sophisticated than most of these are going to allow, but actually for some of your segments, they may work out just fine. But for most of you, for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to select the last one down here, which is to create your own segments. And the first thing it's going to ask you to do is look at the number of days to look back. So in this case, if you were going to select that someone has to have, say, more than 2 transactions, those transactions would have to occur within the last 7 days, not at any time in the history of the site. So we can set the range at which we're going to look back at for the behavior. Let's go ahead and set that as 30 days. What you'll see here is an interface that is very similar to what we've seen in the advanced segments section. But before we go there, click on this import button. When I click on that, I see all the advanced segments I've already defined. So I can look at my custom segments. You may remember some of these, non-branded, the big spenders. So if I were to click on these, it's going to import that segment that we've already got into here, and I can simply go from there. This is going to be the easy way to take advantage of the fact that we were already doing a bunch of advanced segments, and we're already doing that analysis. So that's one option we can do. The other option that we can do is simply to create our own by going through and setting these up right here. It's the exact same interface that it was for the user-based advanced segments. So we could do that right here as well and set these conditions, sequences, and the other things that we want to set in order to identify those folks that have done that action that we're looking for, the behaviors that we want to target. So a quick example of that. Let's say, for example, that we wanted to look at someone who had over 2 visits. And let's say they've never completed a transaction. So less than 1 transaction. Let's say the date of first visit would be in the month of February. I will say through March 1st. And let's go down and set a condition that says we need to have visited a page that was on our blog, for example. Okay, so we've got a few different conditions down here of folks that we are looking to target. Come down here, create a list name, set our membership duration. And membership duration is important. Let's say that you've set your list up properly and you are not marketing to people who've already converted, but that assumes that they converted on your site so that you would know that and you could remove them and you could look at the transactions. But what if they converted at a competitor's site? Now, you still don't want to spend money advertising to someone forever who's already converted, regardless of who they converted with. I mean, let's say that you're a travel deal site and you know that your clients are going to book a particular deal within 30 days or they never will. In that case, you want to expire them. In other words, you want to have Google automatically remove them from the list after that 30-day period. So expirations are important. Select your AdWords account down here that you're going to be doing the remarketing from. And then it is important also to get the estimate of users that are going to be on this particular segment so that you know you have at least the 100 people that you need in order to make sure that these ads are going to fire. And that's basically it. At this point, you're going to come down here, save your remarketing list, and it's going to show up inside of your AdWords account just like any other remarketing list would. It is that simple. If you need to know how to activate a list within AdWords, I encourage you to hop on over to my business partner David Booth's video on AdWords remarketing lists. Speaking of AdWords, for those who are using AdWords remarketing before, just not the GA part, you may wonder what's the difference. Well, the first thing is just simply the ease of targeting. If I wanted to build a list, and say that list was people who came during the week after the Super Bowl, stayed on site for over 3 minutes, saw at least 5 pages, one of which was a blog post, and after the blog post, made it to step 3 of my checkout funnel but did not convert. Now that's usually a very difficult thing to do with the AdWords remarketing code, but as we've seen here, it's almost trivial with Google Analytics, especially since you can still utilize the custom combination lists in AdWords on top of these segments. The second big advantage here is no more tagging. With AdWords, you actually have to put the individual tags on for each list on the various pages and change them each time. With Google Analytics, all that's done here in the interface, so you can add and remove segments, modify lists, do this all with no additional tagging. All you have to have on is that dc.js we talked about before. So it's more powerful and it's easier at the same time. Definitely a big win. One of the things I try to bring you in these tips and tricks are the things that I think are truly underutilized and the opportunities for you to seize what others don't. This truly is one of those features that should get so much more usage than it does. And I believe it is purely 100% because people don't know how. And I'm glad that if you didn't before, all of you now know how, and you can hopefully put it to great use.